of the desert sunrise ride the Navajo Indians, greatest of all in the West. They occupy America's largest Indian reservation, 25,000 square miles, arid but grandly beautiful country. On horseback and wagons or on, but always in picturesque costume, they this weird land. Some of them are always on hand to welcome visitors as the train comes into Gallup, New Mexico, the nation's Indian capital. The Navajo Reservation, located in New Mexico and Arizona, is easily accessible from the city of Gallup is gateway to this vast primitive land. Far from being the vanishing American, the Navajos are on the increase and number upwards of 50,000. They lead a somewhat nomadic life, roaming the same mountains and deserts their ancestors knew so well. Visitors are always welcome. Seen from your train window are the colorful red cliffs typical of the scenery near Gallup. But let's be on our way into the Navajo Reservation. Window Rock is in the heart of the Navajo country. It takes its name from the peculiar rock formation carved by the elements in the side of a high cliff, an inspiring natural window. Seen through this opening are the buildings and grounds of the Navajo Indian Agency. Nearby is St. Michael Mission and Monastery, operated by the Franciscan Fathers who early won the confidence of the Navajos. Indian day schools are scattered over the reservation. Famous is Ganado Mission and Hospital, with its nurses' training school for Navajo girls. Hubbell's trading post at Ganado is the same today as when built in 1873. All these are typical of what the white man has done for the red man. But even so, the Navajo retains his ancient tribal customs. Spring tree and Indian riders slowly drive their sheep toward a corral for the shearing which follows the lambing season. Desert mesas echo with the voices of the sheepherders as they sing their riding song. This country of pinon, cedar, and sagebrush abounds in grama grass, good range feed. Sheep are important to the Navajos. They eat the meat, use the hides for clothing or beds, the wool for blankets or rugs, and the flock itself as a medium of exchange. One flock like this may have many part owners. Children and women usually tend the flocks. You will see them on the coldest days, loyally watching their sheep. Sheep corrals are made of dried wood. When a child is born, its parents present it with 2 or 3 lambs, and thus a new flock is started. The lambs become pets and the child a sheepherder. Well, well, look here, a hungry youngster after his breakfast. He's getting it too. Preparations are underway for the shearing. A wool sack is made ready for filling. Little lumps of wool are tied into corners of the sack to facilitate handling. When full, the bags weigh 300 to 400 pounds as they hang in this simple frame. To the Indians, their economic bag of gold. Indians love brilliant colors, as we can see from this brave's shirt. Rushing excitedly from a small pen, the sheep seem to delight in eluding their captors. But once caught, they are peaceful victims and seem to enjoy the ordeal of being sheared. In early days, shearing was done with tin can tops sharpened on sandstone. Today, modern shears are in use, clipping the wool that is the chief economic product of the Navajo tribe. Shorn of its woolly coat, this sheep really looks and feels a little silly. Oh, well, back to the range to grow another crop. The sheared wool is carefully gathered up. None of it is wasted. It is then packed in the long sack and is ready to head for market. At shearing time, relatives and friends gather round to help with the work. They get paid with wool and plenty to eat. Because the Navajo method of earmarking sheep was confusing, they are now branded with black paint at government request. While the wool sack is being filled, it is stomped down in this manner. Coarse wool, specially selected, is picked out to women for use in weaving done on the reservation. It is placed in a separate sack. And now to the cleansing. The holy plant, the formica, modern beauty parlors, as a shampoo. The amole root is pounded into a pulp in a stone by the women. It is used as a soap to wash sheared wool. After years of living in a barren land, the Navajo make exhaustive use of nature's natural supplies. You can see, Navajo women are practical-minded. They bury the wool so it won't go scoot to work. Yes, it's a far cry from this ancient method, Madame's model. If necessary, the wool is washed several times. The root soap cuts the grease and dirt from the wool, leaving it fluffy and soft. It is then spread out in the hot desert sun to dry. The cleaned wool is used by the Navajo women to weave the far-famed Navajo blanket or rug. It is carded laboriously in the old-fashioned way and then expertly spun on homemade spindles, much as Grandma Smith used to do it in the early colonial days. This part of the work is usually done by the older women. The squaws do everything connected with producing blankets or rugs, from tending the flocks to spinning and weaving. Grandma cards and spins the wool, making it ready for daughter who will later weave it. Although the women have found that store dyes are easier to handle and much less trouble, the native dyes are still often prepared to color the wool used in blankets which have made the Navajo known throughout the world. The loom is a crude homemade affair constructed by binding two crossbars to two poles driven into the ground. The pattern for any Navajo blanket or rug exists only in the mind of the weaver. She follows no set design, and so no two products are exactly the same. Yes, our old silly-looking sheep would feel a little better if he could see this beautiful rug into which his wool was going. And here is the portrait of a Navajo weaver come to life. With flying fingers, the weaver places the weft threads through the suspended warp threads and battens them down with a smooth, flat stick. Navajo girls start learning to weave at 2 years of age, under the watchful eye of their mothers, of course. And speaking of eyes, notice the young ladies. Many hours of labor go into the creating of a Navajo blanket or rug. When finished, they are brought to some nearby trading post and exchanged for food, clothing, and other necessities. Often, the weavers work on special orders received from white traders, expressing in this medium the finest development of their artistic instincts. There is an ancient Navajo legend that the earliest weavers learned their art from the spider woman. If so, they learned extremely well. At the slightest provocation, Navajos will gather to enjoy a feast. And here we see Indian riders bringing in cattle for the hungry family and friends gathered to celebrate an Indian holiday. And the women follow through by cutting up them or broiling on an outer bed of hot coals. Is ingeniously made from baling wire, but it serves its purpose well, and food is on the way. Here, the Navajos are preparing a beef hide for drying in the sun. They peg it onto the ground after stretching it. Later, it may find its way to a trading post for barter or be used for moccasins. Notice the skill with which this Navajo woman skins this hide off a sheep. The hide may be used for a bed or covering at night and has many other uses. Yes, indeed, this skinning takes teamwork. This trading post on the banks of the Pueblo, Colorado Creek is deep in the Navajo Reservation. Trading Day for the Indians is a festive occasion when sacks of wool, hides, finished blankets and calico, or many other necessities. Visiting reaches a high point at the trading post, and bits of news are heard and overheard. The bartering goes on with a genial white man who is patient and understanding in dealing with his Indian customers. Navajos have a rich sense of humor and enjoy a good joke or wisecrack, and the trader brightens up proceedings with a few good ones he picked up from the tribal comedian. Watch this couple as they deal with the man behind the counter. And notice those sparkling eyes of the young Navajo woman as she gets what she wants. And today, Father Navajo wants a new bridle for his favorite horse. Well, looks a little loose around the ears, but I think I'll take it. Yes, sir, that looks all right. Well, that's about all for this trip. And so, done with their trading and visiting, and with groceries piled in their wagon, this Navajo family leaves for home to continue their ancient ways of living. The Navajo shoe problem? Well, that was solved many generations ago. Let's watch a pair of 11 double A's made to measure, shall we? Before working a cowhide into new moccasins, it is buried in damp earth to soften. The hide is then pounded on a stone to facilitate handling. New moccasins last the wearer about a year with ordinary use. That little extra care now means comfortable feet for a long time ahead. After measuring the foot, the leather is selected. Cowhide is used for the sole, buckskin for the uppers. Navajo men are the moccasin makers. The pattern is cut with a practiced eye. A common jackknife and an awl are the only tools used by the moccasin maker. The awl is sharpened on sandstone. sinew of sheep or goat is used for sewing and usually outlasts the rest of the moccasin. No, you may not have your choice of a dozen styles, but you'll have a snug and a comfortable fit. Well, here's a novel and a practical method to soften up a moccasin in the making. Yes, tasty too. And even Junior gets fitted for footwear. The Navajo attitude toward corn planting is one of veneration. The cornfield is a holy place, just like the home. The Navajo word for corn means that which you eat. The men use the digging stick or hoe, while the women follow, dropping kernels and using their feet to cover the planting. The corn planter digs deep to find moist soil. Care is used not to press the dirt too firmly, lest it stop the corn from growing. The colorful fruit of the corn harvest is ready for grinding and use in tasty Indian dishes. Navajo jewelry remains on the hands of the women as they go about their work. Work still performed in the ancient manner of early Navajo tribes. One of the most necessary of these tasks is the grinding of the corn that is an essential part of the Navajo diet. Say, any chance of getting a little cornbread? No, evidently not. Ah, but this healthy-looking Navajo mama is making some tortillas, Indian style. Yes, she looks as though she may have sampled several on the side from time to time, too. The Indian tortilla is actually bread fried in mutton fat. Most white folks like it very much. Yes, indeed, it looks mighty good from here. Practically everything Navajo women do, they do in groups, with the children playing around nearby. Here they are kneading bread, and still that jewelry remains on their hands. After the dough is kneaded, it is cut into loaves, much like Mother used to do it. And, of course, this is an excellent opportunity to exchange news. Wood is chopped by this young athletic squaw to make fire in the baking ovens nearby. It seems Navajo women are always busy. Hey, she's handled that axe before. A hot fire is built inside the bake oven and kept roaring until the temperature is right for baking. Then the coals are removed and the oven swept and cleaned. The loaves are placed inside the oven directly on the hot ground. Yes, large quantities of bread are baked each time. The opening in the top is used as a damper to control the heat. And here is the finished product, vitamins and all. With a little dusting off, it's ready for the table. Gather round the festive board, Papa Navajo. Here come your bread bakers. For a look at the artistic side of Navajo life, we visit a silversmith at his outdoor workshop and arrive just as a customer rides up to do some outdoor window shopping. As usual, greetings are exchanged first. Then wares are brought out for inspection. A newly made concho belt is displayed. Yeah, it's very pretty. Oh, have to have a little better crop of wool before I can afford that. And so on his way again. And as he leaves, let us move closer and watch the silversmith at work. All Navajo silver work is manufactured by the men, and the art requires exact skill with the crudest of equipment. The metal is heated and pounded. Then a sharp pointed tool is used to make designs of various kinds. And the final polishing finishes the job. They create a wide variety of jewelry, including concho belts, perfume bottles, silver beads, bow plates, and other decorative gifts which find their way through the trading posts to modern stores and a ready market. And strangest of all, Navajo jewelry plays a prominent part in getting married. Navajos marry early in life, and choosing a bride follows an age-old custom. Let's watch while the father of the groom approaches the bride's family and offers gifts. His presents are actually in the form of barter for the bride, who sits shyly nearby with a handy shawl to hide her face in case she blushes. She listens attentively as her parents praise her virtues and try to add another horse to the barter price as they look over the gifts. And yes, sir, she blushes as she finds out how valuable she is. Well, it's all settled when the groom's father agrees to add a few horses to the jewelry and then heads for home to tell his son of his newly won bride. Horses of the groom's father are rounded up. The bride's parents arrive to make a careful selection. They may receive from 1 to 10 horses for marrying off their daughter. And now we have a Navajo wedding to attend. Even the barrel cactus is in bloom as everybody prepares for the wedding and the feast which follows. Among the preparations is the famous Navajo sweat bath. Stones are being heated in this fire to be placed in the sweat bath house. As friends gather from near and far to enjoy this unique Navajo version of a Turkish steam bath. The hot stones are placed inside on the north side of the bathhouse to ward off coughs and colds which are believed to originate in the north. Then several men enter to perspire and cleanse their bodies and remain inside as long as 20 minutes. A blanket is placed over the door to keep the steam in. Yes, everybody inside seems to be steaming beautifully. Dripping wet, they come out of their bath clean and happy. Then shower their bodies with sand to dry themselves and sit in the sun before dressing. They bathe this way about once a week. On the way to the wedding, we stop in front of this Navajo hogan to watch a bit of family life that is familiar all over the world, preparing baby for a nap. Navajo babies are beautiful, with huge eyes and bulging cheeks. Baby is placed on an Indian cradle made of a plaque board with a little canopy to offer shade. The mattress on the cradle is cedar bark, dried and softened. Yes, a convenient substitute for that well-known three-cornered affair. Next, he is laced securely in the cradle by loving hands. Baby is then ready for lunch and a nap, just like babies all over the world. The sharp sun disturbs this little one, though, and so the mother, like all mothers, knows the answer, a light lunch. And neither sun, moon, or stars will bother baby as he slips into dreamland. Navajo women, too, are fussy about how their hair is done, and a coming wedding is a splendid reason to use this open-air beauty parlor. Their hair shines from free use of the amole root soap suds. Except for very young girls, the hairdress is the same for all women and many of the men. After brushing, the hair is folded in a knot at the back of the head, then tied with white wool, which is wound securely around the knot to give it Navajo style and hourglass form. Most Navajo women have a luxuriant growth of hair and naturally want to look their best. The bride and groom are bright-eyed and waiting. The medicine man is ready to conduct the ceremony. Let's listen.
Nana, Sunny, Nana, Ganado Mission. Kat koten sila kojon, koten kojon, kat kotoha kse. koto saasto, kotosto, kotonana, kototo, kotosto, kotonana. Katassa, koto, kotassa, ja katettiinka niistä se, vetitoka, sieltä, jotokosta, ykkökosta, seikosta ja pehosta.
A handshake of congratulations from the medicine man, and the couple will be Mr. and Mrs. Navajo. Since early morning, the women have been cooking, baking, broiling, and frying a variety of foods for the feast that follows the wedding. Always there is mutton, product of their beloved sheep. It is roasted, stewed, barbecued, and fried, and served with whatever delicacies the trading post affords. Everybody at the wedding has a good meal and a good time. This is the medicine man's hogan. When an Indian is sick, the proud and dignified medicine man is consulted. Here he is blessing his altar and praying in preparation for a healing ceremony which includes a chant and a sand painting. He blesses the altar with sacred meal, all the while saying a prayer to the many gods of the Navajo world. And now let's go inside the hogan and watch the sand painters and join in the observance of this ancient ritual. If a family is wealthy, one of the major chants may be given. Some major chants last 9 days and nights. The medicine man makes a considerable charge for his services, especially if he has a good reputation. It takes years of training and study to become a medicine man. There is no book to learn from. It is all handed down by word of mouth. The solemn-faced medicine man carefully outlines the design of the sand painting, and an assistant as carefully sketches it in the plain sand. This is the start of a task that may take many hours, but must be completed before sunset. The medicine man continues directing the painting, one and sand paintings. While others assist with the painting, one Navajo prepares the various colored sands used. He grinds and mixes the sand on a metate or grinding stone, creating colors by mixing different kinds of clay, sand, charcoal, and ground rock. These colors are carefully placed in bark receptacles until needed. Guided by the medicine man, who is supreme in this ceremonial, the expert fingers and practiced hands of the helpers bring into bold relief the shape of the painting. Now we recognize the center figure as representing the endless snake. within which, according to Navajo legend, the universe and everything in it exists. When completed, it will be surrounded by 4 smaller snake figures placed in the 4 cardinal points. They represent the guardians of the endless snake, who himself lives on the edge of the universe. Navajos take pride in their worship and zealously protect their beliefs. We watch strangely fascinated as this weird picture reaches its climax. It leaves little doubt that this ancient custom of the Navajos, peculiarly their own, has been handed down from generation to generation. Here we find the medicine man busy with the paraphernalia of his craft, his bundle or medicine bag of buckskin from an animal ritualistically killed, and contains all the things necessary for conducting the chant. Inside are prayer sticks decorated with feathers from a live eagle, rattles, stones, pollens, animal tissues, native herbs, ochres, and clays, many of them difficult to obtain. These things he prizes highly. With the painting finished, the medicine man carefully places the fetishes or prayer sticks at the correct points on the sand painting where the gods they invite to the ceremony will not fail to see them. The patient for whom the painting was created enters and sprinkles sacred cornmeal over the painting from east to west, from south to north, exactly as the medicine man has done. Hot coals from a fire are brought in and placed in front of the painting. From an abalone shell containing dried and fresh herbs mixed with water, the medicine man dampens the tip of a fetish and anoints each part of the sand painting. Then, stripped to a loincloth, the patient seats himself in the center of the painting. He always faces east. Each chanter in the hogan holds a rattle from the medicine man's bundle. The rattle is rhythmically shaken as the chant continues. patient is offered sacred medicine, which has been blessed with the strength of the sand painting. A helper places hot coals in front of the patient. The medicine man drops some sacred incense upon the coals. The patient touches the coals with his hand, inhales the fumes from the incense, rubs his head, and rises to his feet, convinced that what he has experienced will help him. Before the sun sets on this day, every trace of the sand painting must be systematically destroyed by the medicine man, and the sand used taken outside and deposited in each cardinal direction at a place carefully stipulated by the medicine man. Homeward bound are the Navajos, and so ends our visit to their land. They ride into the distance, silhouetted against a glorious southwestern sunset, riding down the trail into their fantastic country, where the ancient and the modern find a strange